They must have got a bit of gold out of there 'cause there's an old mine door there. They normally don't have mine doors on them, you know. But this one must have been quite profitable back in its day. And we'll start checking some of these quartz fins. All these reefs up and around here. From mining over 1,000 ounces of gold to coming across an old forgotten mine filled with gold beyond his wildest dreams. This is how Parker Schnabel discovered a long-lost ancient gold mine. Let's dive in. Parker Schnabel and his team had just stumbled upon something incredible. An old mine filled with untouched gold. It had been left behind in a rush, the treasure sitting there for years just waiting to be taken by someone curious enough to look. Excited by their discovery, they wasted no time. They worked fast, pulling out gold at an unbelievable speed. But the deeper they went, the more they felt something was off. Strange tools, unfamiliar markings, and eerie signs started appearing. It was as if someone long ago had left behind a message. Do not dig here. You've forgotten about the gold, and you're more interested. There's something dead. What is that? Dead kangaroo by the looks of things. Feel like Indiana Jones. Have a look at that. What the? It's enough to take your breath away, innit, bro? But Parker wasn't one to walk away from a gold mine. He ignored the warnings and kept digging. The deeper they went, the more unsettling things became. Then they found it. Something that changed everything. The forgotten mine. At first glance, the mine seemed like the ultimate jackpot. Thick veins of gold lined the rock walls, shining even in the dim light. There were no signs of old-school mining tools, no mercury contamination, just pure raw gold waiting to be taken. Parker claimed every last bit without hesitation. But gold always comes at a price. What they uncovered wasn't just treasure. It was a mystery wrapped in danger. It reminded Parker of a story his grandfather once told him. One day his grandpa had an unbelievable gold haul, 42 Oz in a single day. But 4 hours later, everything changed. As the dust settled, a strange sound rose from the ground. It wasn't just a mine. It was something much more. Parker's team had no paraprost, no million-dollar machines burning fuel, just them, the mine, and a growing sense of unease. They thought they were just digging for gold. Instead, they had uncovered something that was never meant to be found. Wait, there's more. Unlike other mining operations they had been through, this one was just simple, efficient digging with rewards. In just a few hours, they had pulled over 100 drawn of gold. It felt almost like stealing from history itself, and something about it felt off. The more they dug, the more questions arose. Who had left this mine behind? And why had no one ever come back? If it was as good as it seemed, then just as they reached what should have been the most lucrative part, they found something they weren't prepared for. Evidence that they weren't the first to uncover these riches. And those who came before had left in a hurry. While things were looking good for Parker, the same could not be said for everyone. Another miner in the area had been working tirelessly, desperate to hit the bedrock. He had poured everything he had into a single hole, a hole that kept swallowing money faster than it gave back gold. It was a high-stakes gamble, the kind Parker knew all too well. He watched closely, knowing how easily fortunes could flip from riches to ruin. But here's the kicker. When Parker's team went to clear the site, they realized this wasn't just an abandoned mine. It was a time capsule frozen in history. The rock formations didn't match modern geological maps. On top of that, the tools they found were too advanced for the time period. And something had been left behind. Something more valuable than gold. If they could pull 5 or 6 kilos of gold in one haul, they'd be set. But this was never just about the money. It was about the chase. The thrill of knowing something massive was just within reach. Further downstream, men spent millions trying to strike gold, scooping dirt off the riverbanks like it was easy. But every scoop was either a step toward fortune, or a reminder of how quickly things could go wrong. I've got some bad news for you. We're not done mining. We need to keep working. We need to stay and find some more gold. Is there an issue with that? I understand you wanted to get as much gold as you can get. I understand that. But everybody's wore out. I think our backs have been broken. Parker had been in tight spots before, but this mine had a strange energy. It whispered of past miners who had tried and failed. Yet despite the warnings, Parker's instincts told him to keep going. To him and his team, this felt like the ideal gold mine they had wanted all along. Since they were not sure why anyone would leave such a rich place in a hurry, the best thing they could do was mine the most as they figured out the rest. However, the ground became more unstable the deeper they dug, and then they realized something had been waiting beneath the surface for centuries. A big win. And then they hit bedrock, the final layer before either striking it rich or walking away empty-handed. And there it was. Gold. More than they had expected, more than anyone in the area had found in decades. But the real discovery wasn't just the gold. It was what they found alongside it. Artifacts, markings, signs that didn't belong to any known mining operation. Someone had been here before them, long before modern miners had ever set foot on this land. And they had left behind a secret, one Parker wasn't sure he wanted to uncover. With riches in hand, Parker had a choice to make. Take the gold and walk away, or keep digging, keep risking, chase something even bigger. He had spent his whole life mining, but some treasures aren't meant to be found. Some discoveries rewrite history. And some mines, they're abandoned for a reason. Following this discovery, tensions grew among the crew. Some wanted to report the find immediately, to hand it over to historians and archaeologists who could properly document what they had uncovered. Others wanted to keep going, to dig deeper and see how far the mystery went, to extract every bit of wealth and knowledge this place had to offer. Make the most of it as miners torn between the thrill of discovery and the weight of responsibility. Parker had to make a decision, and make it fast. Time was not on their side. Don't get too greedy. The ancient supports holding up the tunnels were never meant to withstand the pressures of modern excavation. Dust filled the air as part of the wall gave way, and then in an instant, a section of the mine collapsed. Their path was sealed off, forcing them to rethink everything. This was more than just a battle against rock and dirt. They were fighting time itself, against the very earth that had hidden its secrets for centuries. By now, Parker wasn't even sure if they were digging for gold or for answers. "Don't us out, man. You ready, Dan?" "I'm ready, man." This seems so wrong. With the lighter, his crew exhausted and on edge, kept working, each of them realizing they were part of something much bigger than they had ever imagined. Yet in the back of everyone's mind, one question lingered. Were they truly prepared for what they were about to uncover? Days turned into weeks. Every ounce of gold they pulled from the mine was a reminder of how much was at stake. The artifacts they uncovered were carefully documented but never fully understood, raising more questions than they answered. And then, just when they were about to wrap up, they hit something completely unexpected. A hidden chamber, sealed off from the rest of the mine. Untouched. Undisturbed. Waiting. What they found inside changed everything. This was no ordinary gold mine. This was something ancient, something lost to time. And in that moment, Parker knew he had a choice. Take the gold he had obtained and leave a rich man, or step into the unknown and uncover the truth buried beneath the surface, and risk his life and that of his crew. At this point, mining wasn't just about gold anymore. It was about discovery, about survival, about history itself. Yet this wouldn't be the first time Parker was making history. Back in the early days, holding a claim in the gold rush was a battle of its own. Parker and his crew came into the mining scene with more enthusiasm than experience. Their first season was brutal. They barely scraped together 15 ounces of gold, not even close to the big payday they had dreamed of. Bad luck, no experience, and a harsh dose of reality nearly broke them. But instead of quitting, they doubled down, risking everything for another shot. Their journey to becoming legendary miners wasn't easy. Just when they thought they were finally getting the hang of it, they lost their claim. But instead of licking their wounds, they hustled at Quartz Creek. They clawed out nearly 100 ounces of gold, proof that they weren't done yet. A teenager's mining partnership was making big moves, showing off to the veterans he wasn't just some kid playing in the dirt anymore. The Hoffmans weren't messing around either, pulling in over 800 ounces, a huge jump from their rookie year. But for Parker, it wasn't just about luck anymore. It was about strategy, grit, and knowing when to take risks. The competition heated up, pushing everyone to take bolder steps. Parker, no longer content with playing it safe, aimed higher and hauled in over 1,000 ounces, making a clear statement. "It's probably like 50 an hour." Yeah. It was better than when we have 2 plants running. Yeah, this is the best cut we have ever run. That is nuts. Isn't that crazy? Todd Hoffman and his crew had their best season yet, but their numbers were starting to look small compared to Parker's rise. The pressure to perform was growing, and the rivalry had shifted from friendly competition to a serious battle. Parker shattered expectations with over 2,500 ounces. The Hoffmans, refusing to be left behind, brought in nearly 1,400 ounces. However, as talented as Parker was, he did have some bad days. The bad days. It was 9 weeks into the season, and he had started big by investing $2.5 million on a promising haul, only to end up with just over $1 million worth of gold. Knowing that he was running out of time, Parker decided to do something he'd never done before: run 3 wash plants simultaneously. With more ground to cover, he sent a 3rd wash plant and an additional crew on the Indian River, with the hopes of scoring over $2.5 million in just 3 weeks. After hearing Parker's plan, Mitch Blaszak shared the same enthusiasm and hope of making it big in the shortest time possible. By running multiple wash plants at the same time, to him, each wash plant would manage to get a good amount of gold each week. And when they combined all the gold from the 3 plants, it would add up to a lot of money. At least that's what they thought.